Thanks for having me. I'm gonna work on sharing my screen here so I can kind of go through a little bit of a presentation, but just a little bit about myself. I originally grew up in the state of Iowa and um, now live out in the state of Washington. So a lot of my investing that we'll be able to talk about if there's any questions on that is done in the great state of the Midwest in Iowa. And really just wanted to be able to share a little bit more about property management. We're Prosperity is more so on the behind the scenes of property management, not boots on the ground. And then being able to, like Liz talked about here, a little bit more about the makes or breaks of a good property manager, because I am involved with my parents' business where we manage over 300 doors as well. So a little bit about just investing on my end. I've been around real estate since I was 6 years old, when my parents were buying foreclosure property on sheriff sales and all that other fun stuff within our local area. And we would just go in and do fix and flips. And then that kind of gravitated towards by college. I owned a piece of property myself where I just rented out to my college classmates, to where it really triggered or really elevated over when COVID hit, where we started investing in commercial real estate, and then getting involved with some syndication deals, and then also creative financing where we would buy on sub twos, owner financing, and lease purchase agreements. So I guess least to say is I've dabbled in several different areas. Um, and it's just about finding the right fit of what that property is producing for you, ultimately, in my mind. So um, with that said, from a property management side of things, uh, I mean, it's been easy to increase rent rates over the past couple of years, but we've been able to improve investments for other landlords or owners like yourselves by $9.5 million since 2021. And so there's some things that we can talk about there of what a property manager should be looking for on how to help increase the value of property. Um, and then that 9.5 million we manage, or I own, we help property manage over $35 million worth of assets um, throughout the country there. So but without further ado, I just wanted to talk about Prosperity and what we do there, talk about what makes or breaks a good property manager. Raise your hand if you have questions throughout this talk. I'm happy to help out in any way to perform in that regard. So how Prosperity came about back in 2020, March of 2020, I actually got let go from my 9-to-5 job. And that kind of stirred the pot or conversation with my father, who was a property manager and also a real estate brokerage owner as a realtor, and where he was managing 50 doors at that time. He would be up until midnight, 2 a.m. to be able to fit what they were doing within the business as a buy-sell agent, but then also just with the 50 doors that would come about. So really, I took lead on everything that we use within Prosperity of Appfolio is the database that we leverage as a third party there. But from a software management program to be able to systemize everything there, but also just give time back. And you're going to hear that a lot from me, how to give more time back into your day to do what matters most. If that's with being with your family or scaling your business, wherever your goals are, that's where we're going to be able to come into play and help you there. So we started with 50 doors back in 2020. We've increased that, like I mentioned earlier, all the way up to over 300 doors during that time. Obviously, you can see we're giving more time into the business and being able to impact other property managers within our company there. The other part of it is I'm also involved in a creative financing investor group. And one of the things that I saw from a lot of these investors that are just beginning or in that like 5 to 5 in properties under stage is you have the mindset of wanting to get financial freedom, and then you get a property, and then you put someone in that property, and then that's when the work begins as well. Of how do I manage this if you don't hire a good property manager or having someone else doing that for you? And so being able to leverage the type of softwares that I know, and then the three pillars that we'll talk about with the marketing, processing, and reporting side of things. So really, that's how it stemmed. There was gaps that I saw that I felt like there was a need for investors like myself and yourselves, to be able to make sure that we look professional throughout the entire process. And so what our ultimate goal is to create that professionalism. So I'll speak in terms of just traditional rentals. There is going to be a point where your name is attached to a certain property that you own. And how do you want that to look in the eyes of a tenant or a tenant buyer if you're doing rent to owns, or anything of whoever's living in that property? That is a reflection of who you are, what your brand is, how you come across as an investor, not only within your community, but also to the tenant themselves. And so making sure that you have professionalism all the way through and through. So being able to have landing pages or a tenant portal, being able to have a place where your tenants can go send work orders through, if there's anything that needs to be done with the property. Just really, my second point, being able to simplify that process for your tenant. And then in turn, that's going to simplify the process for you. It would be the goal, and give that more time to be able to allow you to focus on that next property that you want to go get, or being able to delegate out the task to someone like ourselves, to be able to do those behind the scenes work for you and be an extension of your team. So ultimately just being time savers for you and your company, especially those that are in that 9 to 5 job that you're already bogged down with other things that you're doing on a day in, day out basis. So really what it boils down to, of what prosperity is, being an extension of you and your business. Talking about property management, you can go out and hire a property manager to be able to do the things that we're talking about today. But you're also looking at 10-12% of whatever you're bringing in from a rent standpoint. And the things that prosperity is going to be, that we're going to talk about today, is really the nuts and bolts about what the property manager is going to do for you, all the behind the scenes work. Yes, you're going to have the moments where you have a tenant move in, move out process that you may be handling. And we can talk about some solutions on how that works for having boots on the ground, and if you invest out of state like myself. But really just the property manager is really just money in, money out each month. And then if there's work orders that need to come into play, having relationships that are involved within your local area to being able to find someone to do the work and tasks if it comes to that. But a story that I'll talk about before I get into the pillars of what I've seen, and you probably have horror stories with property managers, but what I've seen of some negative type of experiences with a property manager versus what you should be focused on in finding a good property manager if you're doing that, or leveraging our company with prosperity. But I would have not only the fees that were attached to it, but having a yes man, yes woman type of property manager, that's not going to be in your best interest as an investor. If there's opportunities for you to increase rents over on your property to maximize what you need to get from that specific investment, that's what a good property manager is going to be able to do. They're going to be able to know what the market rent presents itself and how to handle those conversations on increasing your rents, especially if you have month-to-month contracts. We're of the mindset that if there's a month-to-month contract there, that's a great opportunity to be able to have a conversation of making sure that we're locked in for the next 12 months. I do see there are advantages of being on a month-to-month. I do get that, but we have found within our business to being able to turn that into a longer-term tenant, and having those conversations of being able to increase rents within those conversations is always helpful. If you're having a investment, going back to a property manager, just not knowing the full detail of what your investment is at that point, I would have conversations with your property manager or with someone like ourselves of, hey, this investment's a break-even investment for me, or this is where I want it to get to. Um, because ultimately that person should be on the same team as you. If your property manager isn't asking those questions, they're probably more so of just kind of skating by, so to speak. I would want to know what your investment is doing for you, and really what your goals within that investment. Sometimes negative cash flow on for some people is, it's not the ideal. I wouldn't want that, but there's maybe tax reasons of why you're looking at doing that as well. So understanding what your direction and goals are within your portfolio is crucial as well. And then being able to develop a strong relationship, or excuse me, being able to have a high ratio of collecting rents versus projected rents. Um, we have a our mindset when we, for the 300 doors that we manage, is if rents are, so step back again, vacancy rate percentages is a common thing that people go off of. We like to go off of what is the projected rent that's going to get collected for the month of, let's say, October, since that's coming up here soon. And then what was our rents that we collected during that month. So from what Prosperity is going to be able to provide for you as an investor, we're going to be able to help with the marketing side. So from that marketing angle, we're going to be able to blast off to many different platforms, the Zillows, the realtor.coms of the world, apartments for rent, Redfins. We're going to be on many of the different platforms that are there that are going to generate the leads to you to be able to have those conversations of, is this the right tenant for my property? Once you get that tenant filled into your home, into your investment, we're going to be able to have that tenant have its own portal, have its own place to where they're going to make rent payments to you, rather than leveraging the Zells or the Venmos. Or the systems and processes are going to be very systematic for you in that regard. They're going to have their own tenant page for you that you'd be able to go through within our system. And then, like I have mentioned earlier, they're going to be able to send you work orders. They're going to be able to communicate with you within our systems. So you're going to be able to leverage us in some capacity as a CRM to be able to know who has reached out about your property, have texting conversations through there and whatnot. So we'll be able to collect security deposits. We'll be able to collect rent payments. We make mortgage payments for the owners themselves. So from a processing side, we also would pay bills to vendors within our system for you. So really, we're handling a lot of the bookkeeping and the processing of money in, money out. At the end of each month, or in the middle of the month, after making a mortgage payment, we would send your cash flow or your owner's draw for that given month to your bank directly in that regard. And then when all that is said and done, we're going to have a reporting side. So we're going to be able to have a cash flow report. We're going to be able to have an income statement, balance sheet, bank activity that regards to your specific property. Or if you have 100 properties with us, you're going to be able to see the overall business within an LLC, or and all the way down to just one property. So the reporting side of it is very invaluable to be able to take a 10,000 look view of your business and how it's doing. And then being able to get in the weeds if you want to on specific properties to know what is working, what is not working, what can we do differently in that regard as well. And so going back to what is making, what would I be looking for in terms of a month to month basis? Really, it's going to come down to what your goals are, how you want to scale your time, putting your resources, who you're wanting to partner with, because we're ultimately Prosperity. We're going to be an extension of your business to be able to communicate with you on when a lease is about to come up, on having conversations on how to increase rents, some good marketing strategies to bring in more leads to you. Because we're not the only platform. I'd also suggest doing Facebook Marketplace as well, along with leveraging our type of marketing. And then just having a very professional and systematic approach to your day-to-day basis of managing the property itself. And so, I mean, where a lot of our niches, a lot of this of what we've been built around is traditional rentals, but we also help with rent to own properties or subject to. So if you're in Texas and you're doing seller contract work, we have a way of being able to show what the monthly payment breakdown is on a collection standpoint from an interest and principal payment, so to speak. But rent to own and subject to is also part of our niche that we manage as well. So I think it'd be a great time to be able to open up for any questions. I see something in the chat, but I don't know if that's tailored to this. Nope, that was earlier. If there's any questions about managing properties, any horror stories that you would like to share, anything that you have of what we'd be able to offer for you. This QR code is going to be a way to get onto my calendar to have a more in-depth conversation that's tailored to your business. As someone that has one property is going to have a different conversation than someone that has 100 properties, so to speak.